Thank you for being at Starseed Awakening Group. And actually, this is my last radio show. Starseed Awakening has an organization that is here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we are have two groups every other week, the first Friday and the third Friday of every month. We are for experiencers, for people who are starseeds. They feel like, a lot of people feel like they just don't fit in the world, and these are groups so they can come and share and fit in and speak with other people. So my other groups are the internet groups. They are every single Sunday and every single Thursday I have internet Google Hangout groups. And how you get to those Google Hangout groups, because they are private groups, you will go to my Starseed Awakening and Contact Experiencer group, as well as Starseed Awakening group. And also I have a third group, which is MK Ultra, My Lab, Montauk, Monarch, and Super Soldier Ritual Abuse group as well. So those are all groups that you can join. They all are private groups. The Starseed Awakening is very open. I let most everybody come in, almost. So that's pretty open to everybody. But the rest of the groups are private. So you need to actually fill out either let me know about your experience, tell me a little bit about you, or I also will give you a little short questionnaire. It's like 10 questions that just gives me an idea, an indication of where you're at and which group is the best for you, and if this is the right group for you. You can also reach me at starseedawakening.org, my website, and I also have Starseed Awakening YouTube that you can also go into. And you can reach me from email by starmiesha99@yahoo.com. So that being said, I wanted to just say it's been great being here. I will miss having the group, not the group, but the radio show. And but I've had a great time here. Duties and work and things have changed things. I have to change my schedule, and perhaps I'll find another way to get into a radio show. So I wanted to introduce my wonderful guest. Mary Sutherland is the author and the researcher focusing on her work on consciousness studies, ancient history, and the unusual phenomena. She is a hands-on researcher and the creator of one of the largest websites on the internet, with hundreds of pages providing information on paranormal, UFOs, ancient races and the cultures, sacred sites, PowerPoints of the world, underground tunnels and cave systems, dimensional worlds, metaphysics, etc. The governor of Kentucky commissioned her as Kentucky Colonel for her work on the ancient site of Kentucky, which you can go to her website, which is burlington.net/talk-spirit warriors. For the last 5 years, she has been exploring, mapping, and documenting the ancient underwater structures of Rock Lake near Aztalan, and she'll probably pronounce that better. For the last 14 years, she has been documenting these ancient sites around Burlington, Wisconsin. Truth is her passion, and she believes it is through truth that we will break ourselves free of our present entanglements in life. When we become free, we will create our own personal story of the hero's journey, suggested by Joseph Campbell. And you can, I'm going to have her give a little bit more information about what she's doing right now. Thank you, Mary, for being on the show. Welcome.
Well,
So what are you doing?
Thank you for having me, Miesha.
Mm-hmm.
My website, though, for people listening is burlingtonnews.net. And that is 2 N's, burlingtonnews.net. Okay? I think the other one would be a little bit confusing. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, you're coming in loud and clear. That's great. Thank you for straightening that up. So please tell us how you got started in this. Maybe it started as your childhood. Was it kind of were you a starseed? You feel like you probably were.
Yeah. Well, that it's funny that you asked, Miesha, because everybody asks that question. And I've always said, that it started with childhood. My parents were very open-minded. And so, it left me open to all the possibilities in life, without, having to deal with, my parents saying, oh, well, that's just your imagination. But, but the interesting part about it is I've been updating my websites. And actually, I have more to add. So I'm glad that you asked that question. Because like I said, I've always had this feeling, I've always had this sense of knowing and always had that ability to travel. But it actually started for me very strongly. A new path opened in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't even realized that for some reason, I had closed my mind off to that date until I was updating my websites. And I realized what had happened was my advancement took place, June 3rd, 2006, June 3rd, June 3rd and June 6th and June 9th of 2006. And it started with June 3rd, I had taken a bunch of people out into the woods, for these haunted wood tours that I do and let them to experience the woods.
Okay.
But that night, something very, very unusual happened. And I found out, well, I don't want to jump ahead of myself on this. But anyhow, I'd taken these people out into the woods. We got out into the sacred site area, and everything, we had this one woman. She went into a trance and started speaking Native American Indian. Mm-hmm. And she was crying. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't understand a word she said, but anyhow, I went to her and I held her hands. And as soon as I held her hands, I understood exactly what she was saying. I could see exactly what was happening to her. And which was that there was a Native American woman that had went into her and taken over her body to share her sorrow about witnessing her tribe and her family being slaughtered by the Calvary. Mm-hmm. And then she was running and she grabbed a hold of one of her children and she felt this sharp pain, burning pain in her back, which was her death. Oh, yes. But you see, she was so traumatized, she could not, she couldn't go on. She was caught in that scenario. Mm-hmm. And, so anyhow, we did a ceremony of sorts. I did with this woman, and we was actually able to cross this Native American woman over. But right after that, the shaman comes to me from another dimension, and he tells me to leave the group and go to this one spot and stand and he would show me something. So I quietly walked away from the group and went over to this one spot. And the next thing I know, I'm spinning and being shot out of my body, turning into a thunderbird. And I could actually feel the feathers on my wings in the air, going through those feathers. And at that point in time, I realized, I thought to myself, why am I a thunderbird? What's happening? And as soon as that happened, I went back into my body and passed out.
Oh my!
I fell into these the shrubbery up there, and actually passed out. My husband comes running over, and he helps me up, and then both her and myself, we were so weak. The woman I told you about that had the experience of the Native American going into her, our legs were so weak we couldn't stand. And so our husbands actually had to help us out of the woods, walk us out of the woods, holding us up to get us back to the parking lot where our cars were parked. And the rest of the group, they were going to stay for a little bit and then join us. And as soon as we got back to the parking lot, we were getting our strength back and just kind of waiting for the rest of the group. And we seen this light come from the horizon. And we were watching it, and we thought it was an airplane, but instead of being an airplane, it was a huge triangular shaped UFO. Oh. And it went, it was right over the highline wires. That's how, it was so low we could actually see the undercarriage of it. And didn't make any sound. It just came, kind of hovered a little bit, then it left and went back over the woods, which the party that was in the woods actually saw it as well. And then a few minutes later, we had another one come over. And at that point in time, with the second one, we were kind of afraid it was military, and us being witnesses, we're thinking, oh, wow, we're going to be in trouble now. Right. But anyhow, just before it got to us, it shone this like a searchlight came on it, and it lit up the whole parking lot. And it was so bright, we had to shade our eyes with our hands. And anyhow, it came over us, the same altitude, and then it left. But and then later on, I was hypnotized because I realized that I had not seen. Well, it had shown those lights, but when it left, the lights were off, and there was just no way that I should have seen it turn its light off. And I asked Brad the same thing. I said, did you ever see it turn its light off? And he says, no. So we went and had ourselves hypnotized to get more answers. And I knew a reputable hypnotist, which I strongly advise everyone, when you're finding a hypnotist, you best be knowing who is putting you under, because there's a lot of charlatans out there too. You've got to be careful. Right. But anyhow, to find out through the hypnosis that we had missing time and we were actually taken aboard the ship. And I had recall of that, as well as my husband having a recall. And it was the Galactic Federation. And, but anyhow, it was after that, that's when my whole life changed, and they had been giving me, they gave me orders to open up these portals. There was 3 portals that had to be open. One was on the 3rd, the other one was on the 6th, and the other one was on the 9th. And one was to prepare the bridal chamber for the bride and the coming Christ.
Oh, really?
And I actually have pictures on my website of these UFOs, of me, going into turning into a thunderbird, and with that woman crying that I talked about. And I've got pictures of the ceremonies I did. And so anyhow, it was a 3-part ceremony that needed to be done, and so they chose us, and that's where everything started with us. And And so as everybody through these years that everybody have asked me about it, when it all started, I've always went back to childhood. But like I said, as I updated those sites, I realized, yes, I was always open to all this, but my journey, my calling started June 3rd of 2006.
Oh,
And
fascinating.
and then I found out just a couple days ago that exactly 1,000 years prior to that, there was a great cataclysm that had hit this earth. It happened in 1000 AD, or no, I'm sorry, 1006 AD. So it was 1,000 years from that time up until what we encountered up there in those woods. And it's opened me, since then, it's opened me to psychic awareness, healing, writing my books, opening up portals, being, just about everything you can think of. I now have the capabilities of. And it all started at that point in time. And why I never, recognized it, I think is, I think that happens to a lot of people that have these certain type of encounters. They forget about it. Or they put it off in the backs of their mind and just don't think about it. And I think I would have continued to do so too if it had been for the fact that, I've been taking this last month or so, to upgrade my sites, and I came across, these sites that I had done of these ceremonies and the encounters that we had there in June. But yeah, it was 1,000 years ago.
Often people do. It's it's that whole verbiage. If you've seen a ship close up, you've been on it.
Yeah.
There it was, and it was a good thing that you were regressed to find that out. I am a hypnotherapist. I do regression, so it's really important to have somebody. And I also think it's quite important for somebody. I mean, you just go into the yellow pages and find yourself a hypnotherapist. If you start talking to them about UFOs and things like that, they're not going to get it. So people really need to have people who know what.
Well, besides that, they can put suggestions in your mind. And if they don't have scruples, I mean, they can take advantage of you even with your bank accounts and, getting your trust. I mean, there's a lot of unscrupulous people out there, that are, and they're going, and I hate to say it, but they claim, they're light workers. Well, I always tell people it's not in what they say, it's in their deeds. You need to go and listen to those deeds or pay attention to those deeds.
That's right.
Do they match what they're saying?
Or is it all about the money? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, gee, that's a fascinating story. So,
well, you're the first one to have that story.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a good way for me to be able to share it with you since this is going to be your last show.
Yeah.
And my first telling of the story.
Oh, yes. Very good. Very good. So, and as being a facilitator, people always seem to, because I facilitate a support group, so people always seem to just open up with me all the time. So thank you very much for sharing that. So, you might give us a little rundown of how many books you have and where people can get them as well.
Well, I've written 6.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, and I started out with Believe in the Magic, or Living in the Light, Believe in the Magic. And from there I wrote Mysteries, and that's with the tag Mysteries of Southeastern Wisconsin and Burlington. Then I wrote Revelations, Truth Revealed. Let's see. Then there was Lost in Time and the Red-Haired Giants, and then Haunted Burlington, Wisconsin. but the Lost in Time and Red-Haired Giants that's part of a 5-book series, In Search of Ancient Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be getting into that after the break, because the break's coming up here in 3 minutes or so. So, tell also a little bit now. Those 2 books, they're going to be dealing with Ancient Man. I've never really heard of the red-haired giants, but this will be very interesting to find, because I didn't know they were red-haired. I'd heard of course the giants,
Right.
and all of that. I heard about people finding the bones and all the skulls and things throughout the world, but I didn't know about the red-haired. So this will be very interesting.
Well, see, this came along with that path. This is what happened, with June 3rd.
Ah.
Yeah. That awakening to the red-haired giants.
And like I said, I don't want to get started on anything, but so I'm just going to ask you, a couple of questions. So, have you had any more encounters since then?
Oh yeah, encounters all the time. Well, I've been seeing UFOs ever since I was a child. So I mean, I've always believed in UFOs, and seeing a UFO to me is like seeing a nice classic car going down the road. I mean, I've had so many encounters, of all different ones, but I think most of it is, and I feel protected more so with the Galactic Federation.
I did too. I communicate with the Galactic Federation, so yes, I know what you mean. So
I've never had any negative experiences with UFOs. I've never been taken per se. I've had contact. I should say I've never been abducted.
But you don't consider that June 5th an abduction? You were taken.
No, as a matter of through hypnosis, I realized when they took me aboard the ship that I was meeting up with old friends from when I was a childhood. And it was just, one of the ones that had taken me under their arm was, one of what they call the Ant-Man. The Ant, yeah. And, he was a scientist. He was dressed in a white, position type jacket. And I walked he was working on something on a table, and anyhow, I went right there, and he seen me. He had me come in, and we were standing there talking, and and it was just like to me, he was a childhood friend, very, very, a very, very nice person, entity, however you want to call them. And while he was telling me all this different information, Brad was in this other room, and it was kind of circular. The room was where you'd actually have to step down. It was kind of like like a sunken living room,
right.
But it was circular, and all around the perimeter were like these benches, these soft, seatings. And he was just sitting there and BSing with all the different entities, the visitors or, the other worlders, and they just relaxed and waiting for me to come back, and so everything was very casual. No bad, no negative. Like I said, I've never experienced negativity, with or a negative event.
Well, that's good. That's great. I know exactly what you mean about the way the ships look and all of that. It's the Federation is a bigger ship. Now, when you were, isn't it amazing that when you're inside the ship, they look so much bigger than they do from the outside?
Yeah. You kind of think of that TARDIS, right? Doctor Who.
Oh, I've not seen that. I'll have to see that.
Yeah, it's a great big building inside of a little telephone booth.
Oh,
you step in the telephone booth, and you just all these rooms upon rooms upon rooms. But they've been very kind to me, through the years, and they have given me a lot of information. Especially, and I'm sure you being that you are one of us, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you wake up with all this information and you can't sleep until you write it all down, and a lot of it comes in symbols for you to figure out later. Yeah.
Different people seem to get it in different ways, but yeah, that definitely wake up with the download is a common one for many of the experiences. I had no idea that you were experienced. I'd love to invite you to come to our experiencer group, because our experiencer group is not about being abducted or victims or any of that stuff. We just find out how amazing our experiences have been, and we talk with each other about it, share. We learn a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I'd love to join your group.
Sunday at 11:30. Well, for you, I don't know what time it is, but for me,
well, I think I'm an hour behind you, because I think that this show started at 4 for you and 3 for me. So.
No, actually, it started at 1 for me. I'm Pacific Standard Time. I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
The Revolution Studios is run off Pacific or Eastern Time, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So so come and join us. We do it in Google Hangout, and all you have to do is join the event there. Of course, added you to our membership, and come in and share with people, and it's very very nice, fun group. No victims there, because things have changed. People back 10 years ago felt that the whole thing about contact experience abduction was first of all, they come into it on a fear base, because they're programmed through religion and the whole, raising childhood and everything like that. They come into it sometimes in fear, but then they realize, they didn't hurt them. They learn so much. They have downloads. They have. They're automatic writing. They're getting messages. They're getting music. There's so many things that they are imparting to us. If people are realizing this is a really positive thing that has happened to you.
It is with the Galactic Federation, but I do know of others out there, that a person should be very wary of.
So of course, there's a negative and positive in all species. Even the species.
I don't think I'd want to spend too much time with, the draconians, the reptilians.
Certain ones are absolutely unconditionally loving, but some of them, yes, you're right.
But we've had them, excuse me, had them at the Sci-Fi Cafe actually come into our cafe, looking totally human. People will say to me, they'll say, well, what does an alien look like? And I'll say, well, you probably sat and had a conversation with an alien and never even knew it, because so many of the aliens do look human, or they can mesmerize you to the point that you are seeing something other than what they actually look like, but they can vary. I've had aliens appear to me and allowed me to photograph them, and I have them in my book, Haunted Burlington, Wisconsin, as well as on my website. But I have many pictures of aliens that they've allowed me to photograph, so.
So it might be a very interesting thing. I'm not sure where the break is. I thought there was going to be a break. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Maybe you should start with the Burlington, because that seems to be more of the contact, the ET. So why don't you start with that, if that's all right?
Sure.
If it does want to break, then we'll just stop.
Okay. Let's see. History Press contacted me. They have like a Haunted Series of America, or Haunted America series, and they contacted me to write a book for them on Haunted Burlington, Wisconsin, based off, my, experiences. And, so anyhow, we've got that book out now, and it's available through Amazon or through History Press, or you can get it on my website at burlingtonnews.net/books.
Mm-hmm.
But we have out here in this area an actual enchanted forest. And it very similar to the haunted forest of Romania. Fairies, leprechauns, multi-dimensional portals, UFOs, ghosts, jinn, you name it, we've got it. And anyhow, I believe what goes on with this is that the woods itself is its own living entity, and it's a teacher. And so what they do is they use me as a conduit to bring people into the woods, and then once they're into the woods, they kind of hook up to their frequency. And through that, they're able to teach them, like download them with information or even let them experience things. We've had actual healing up in the woods as well. So a couple different cancer patients, two that I know of that had diabetes, that it was totally gone afterwards. Wow. Of course, though, it's one of those things, it's totally up to the woods, and that person. I have nothing to do with it. I just hear the stories afterwards. But, it's a wonderful place. It's one of the strongest vortexes there is in the world. And I was the one that discovered it. And it's where, there's the great Native American ley line crosses through there, as well as the Shambhala line. And it crosses over and creates this rift, which opens up these doorways so that interdimensional traveler or multidimensional travelers, can come in and out. But I also have that ability to. I'm a psychic photographer, so which was also taught to me or given to me since my experiences. But anyhow, I'm able to actually photograph the people leaving their bodies and going into the other dimensions. And while they're in the other dimensions, as well as standing here in the third dimension, I'm able to photograph it. So they can see themselves in both dimensions, or maybe three other dimensions, or two other dimensions. I got this one car where there's over 16, maybe 20 different dimensions it's in all at the same time. So I have that ability as well.
And so pictures that they can see on your website.
Yeah. I have a link on all my websites where they just click onto it and it takes them into my Facebook photos. And I've got, I think there's probably about 5,000 pictures in there. We've actually, as far as my psychic photography work goes of all these different multidimensional events, I think I've got close to 700,000 pictures.
Oh, wonderful. Wow. I would love to have you come up to our haunted area we have. It's called Valley of the Orbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get pictures, but exciting place.
I also teach people how to use their camera in order to get this. Use their mind and their camera, create that electrical charge and become friends with the camera. And know what you want to get from your pictures. And once I can get people established that way, I can usually get them to able to photograph these type of pictures as well, these different events. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Very good.
But, so Burlington has got all these portals there, multidimensional portals. So we have a lot of UFO sightings there. We have... one of the things that I like to do is take people to this, where I found out in the woods a fairy kingdom. And the people I'll have them leave M&Ms at the entrance. And then this year the fairies wanted to start having a glitter tree. And so now all these different people are going up there and hanging glitter, like necklaces and, different types of jewelry, anything that glitters, they're hanging on a tree. And because they wanted sparkle, the fairies did.
Oh, they do like
and, yeah. And so and so when the people are going to the fairy kingdom and leaving their sparkle now, or the glitter, or their M&Ms, I photograph them, when this is happening, and I'll be able to photograph fairies coming out of the fairy kingdom, this world, and coming, and interconnecting with them, interacting with them. And a lot of times I'm able to photograph people that have left the M&Ms or glitter actually disappearing or becoming so transparent you can see through them. And you'll see the trail of them entering into the portal of the doorway of the fairy kingdom. Because, there's worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds where it's all layered. And it's all a matter of frequency. And if you can match that frequency, you can actually step into these other worlds. And basically, that's what happens is when their mind's on feeding a fairy, they've joined that frequency. Their attention's right there. They're tuned into those fairies. And once they're tuned in, that doorway opens and the fairies can make contact with them. And we have a lot of fairy pictures. And a lot of djinn pictures too, because when we go up there, we'll
what a djinn is.
A djinn is that's something the Western world is not as familiar with. But when God created the angels through ether, the jinn through fire, and man through earth. And at one point in time, the jinn had dominion over the earth until mankind was created. And then at that point in time, then the jinn had to step back and let man, take over. And they live among us, but they're invisible. The Cherokee Indians call them the Nanahe. And they're the invisible ones. But I can pull them out of because they're a fire elemental kind of. I can also pull them out of the fire, so I'll have a bonfire. And with that energy of the fire, I can pull them out, and they'll take that energy of the fire to come out. Then they manifest themselves as fire serpents or dragons or Kokopelli or even a human or a stick figure. And many of them look like a feathered serpent. So I'm thinking that this is where your stories of Quetzalcoatl come in, the feathered serpent or the feathered dragons. The Eastern traditions more recognize the jinns more so than the Western traditions do. They kind of went from angels and kind of skipped over the jinn and went straight into man. But they're very, very interesting. I'll probably end up writing a book on the jinn. I have close to 1,000 pictures, maybe about 800 pictures of jinn that I've photographed. So you can find them on Facebook as well in that photo album under jinn.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about answering questions in the middle. Do you want to wait till the end?
It doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay, well, I have somebody from the chat that asks, what can you tell us about tarots? Terral.
Oh, the tarots. They're an alien, or they say that they're alien, but I'm thinking that the tarots are probably inner Earth. Because we have, people they'd like for all of us to believe, or the controllers or whoever you want to call them, they like for us to just try to lump our are these various entities under one name, or, one name, and as an alien, and they come from outer space,
Right.
from another galaxy.
Right.
But I think that we have what they call off-worlders here.
Mhm.
But I think that most of the entities that I'm dealing with seem to be coming from the multi-dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have the inner earth entities as well, and that's where the Eteros would come in, is with the inner earth.
Now, would they be considered also the gnomes, or the?
They're kind of similar to, but not.
Mm-hmm.
But very, very similar to.
Because I'm trying to find out who it was that, as a child at 3 years old, came to visit me. They didn't look like your usual alien, except in one fact that during the Star Wars series, I saw what was an Ewok. And that's when I was 3 years old. These little guys used to come to me, and they actually took me flying.
Yeah.
I don't remember being on board a ship. I just remember flying over the buildings. So I was always trying to figure out who they were.
Yeah, well, the UFOs are also flying in inner Earth.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And you can go into the multi-dimensions and have plenty of room to fly as well. And then, now the Jinn, for example, they're shapeshifters.
Okay.
I mean, they're originally human, and, well, I don't know. Nobody really knows what their form is because they do so much shape-shifting. But they can make, you hear these Grecian stories about a god changes himself into this a beautiful woman or beautiful man, and has sex with a woman, and anyhow they're tricked, But that's basically your stories of these jinn, because a jinn can shapeshift into anything it wants. It can make itself appear as a UFO. It can appear as a Sasquatch, a fairy, like an Ewok, anything it wants. So, they're kind of like the Native American trickster.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
So there was one other part question to that, but it actually has nothing to do with it. But I'm going to go ahead because I really
sure.
I'm just going to say it, and then we'll try to remember it for later. But it is. Hang on, let me get back up there. It is. Their other part of it was Backstar or the Planetary X and Nibiru. So we'll keep those in mind and be discussing those a little later, because right now we're basically in a different realm, right? I don't want us to get off.
Maybe.
But someone mentioned spirits, salamanders, midnines.
That's that's more your jinn.
That's more your jinn. Okay, and gnomes. So
gnomes gnomes can be inner earth. They can be in like the fairy kingdom. They can just have their own world within their own dimension, which is very, very real. Or they can be a jinn portraying themselves, as a gnome. Because we never, in my research, I found that I just can't leave the jinn out of the equation.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And yet they're photographable, so they can't be like the archons or anything like that, because the archons are not photographable, from what I understand.
They are.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
So you've got some archons on?
Yeah. But of course, I have that special ability with my camera to be able to get all this.
What do the archons look like?
Well, the archons, they usually appear in, let's see, as light, different, and there's something up there in our woods that actually uses light, and I wrote about this in my book. What book was it? I think it was Revelations, but I don't know. I've written so many, but they use light to talk to you, to communicate. And they first started out with me to let me know what they were doing and communicating with light by writing out my name, Mary.
Okay.
And then another time they wrote out Lulu. And Lulu was the first name of man, was Lulu.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And but then they started going into ancient Hebrew. And I found a friend of mine, Anita Meyer, and she wrote the book Primordial Language, which is the language of light and geometry, sacred geometry. And she was she understands the Hebrew language, and she was able to decipher a lot of words that they had written, out to me, in the woods. So that's and I believe that that's the archons that are doing that, and you'll see them a lot of times like a light stream as well. But I've had them appear
a bad rap. I don't know, the archons from what, and this could be
it could be the jinn.
Two different types of archons, and that could be as well. But the archons supposedly have some connection to, let's say, the cabal and the negative ET groups that are working with the government, and that they are actually feed off people and use them to do things and cause them to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. So,
those are the bad boys. I don't have anything to do with them.
So there's two types of archons then.
Yeah, well, it would be as you described them. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
I'm thinking that I may be confusing archons with archetypes.
Oh, well, that's a different thing altogether. So.
Yeah, and I think that when I was explaining all this, I think I was using the wrong terminology. I think I misunderstood, because I'm pretty sure that what I was explaining, was archetypes rather than the archons.
Or with the light and everything. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, so the archons are something different altogether. They're kind of a controlling kind of nasty breed. So let's forget about them and get back to these wonderful beings that live in Burlington Forest.
Okay. I've photographed trolls up there. Oh. I've photographed leprechauns, fairies. We've had Bigfoot sightings, a lot of Bigfoot sightings up there.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, and but of course I noticed that last year was actually rushed by a Bigfoot. He came off a hill, and he tore trees down, was screaming, coming down off the hill at me. And he got about 20 to 30 foot from me, and stopped dead and stepped off into some brush and disappeared. Ooh. Or we couldn't find him. And so, and but the reason that he rushed me is because his fam, they were, what they were doing was gathering turtle eggs. And because a lot of turtles were up there laying eggs that night, and we think that the family was out gathering those turtle eggs, and they, in their group, kind of separated them. And so I think what he was trying to do was scare us out of there, to help his family.
Sure.
The next day we went up there and photographed the trees that he'd knocked down, the Bigfoot prints, and got plenty of evidence over it. We had about 20 people up there that night on our tour, so we had a lot of witnesses. And then we've had a lot of, but now that there's been quite a lot of people going through the woods this year, and I haven't really heard the Bigfoot like I used to hear them. So I think that with so many people coming in, that they've kind of moved deeper into the forest, or maybe someplace else too, because goodbye old friends, huh?
Yes. My.
Well, the problem with me, and it's good in a way and it's bad in another way, is because, I believe in truth. And so when I experience something or I see something, I report it, to my readers, my followers, because I believe that they have the right to know.
Right.
And but it's kind of like two-edged sword too, because once you tell people that you've seen Bigfoot and where you've seen them and different things like that, then you got people going out there to have their own experiences.
Exactly. Right.
We used to have UFOs years ago coming in. They knew at that time I was only doing my tours on Saturday nights, and they knew that I'd be in this one special spot around 9:00. And the UFOs used to come in all the time, and the people would have their flashlights, and they'd flash the UFOs, and UFOs would flash back. It was playtime. Mm-hmm. And of course, though, I took pictures. I shared it on the internet, and next thing I know, we got military coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And then after military started coming in and chasing them, that was done too. So, like I said, it's a two-edged sword. But still, I put up whatever I see, whatever I experience. I still put it up because, bottom line is the people have the right to know.
Exactly, they do. Well, I just think this is so fascinating about the other beings because I've known for so long that they're real. Unfortunately, I've never got to see them, so I think I need to come to Wisconsin.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't see them physically. We capture them on camera.
On camera, mm-hmm.
Because the lens of them.
You see them in your psychic. I'm
yeah.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I pick them up psychically, then I photograph, and there they are. But then there's others that have actually seen them. I mean, we've had physical manifestations of ghosts, People, we've seen Indians walk by us, physical,
yeah.
And we have a little girl up there in the woods that people have seen. I used to see this one guy with this black suit on all the time, and anyhow, the circle itself is very protected, and so it seems like anything that isn't of the right frequency can't go into that circle. They can if they're physical, but if they're non-physical, for some reason they can't go into that circle. And this one guy, he was always dressed in this black suit, and he'd stand on the outside perimeter of the circle. Mm-hmm. And one night I was walking and kind of got away from the group a little bit, but I was still inside the circle. And the next thing I know, he's standing right next to me. Uh-huh. And I could see him totally physical. I mean, totally. I mean, he was just as physical as you and me. But I shot a picture of him, and he appeared as an orb.
An orb?
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe it was one of the watchers, or
I have no idea because a lot of times you can
black.
Yeah, sometimes that's what happens though. It's reverse polarization. That's what happens a lot of times with UFOs as well.
Right.
If you see a UFO and you take a picture of it, it doesn't show up.
Right.
And then sometimes you're not even seeing the UFO and you take a picture in the sky and there it is. Yeah. And so this friend of mine said it's reverse polarization. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, like with with this man that was dressed in black, I think that's probably what it was that I could see him physically, but then the picture showed him as an orb. And I think a lot of people do that. They see these people and they get the picture of the orb, or they just get, or they don't even see it, but they see the orb, and the orb to me is a vehicle.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Anti-aircraft guns went into action against unidentified aircraft in the Los Angeles area shortly after 3 a.m. Pacific Wartime this morning.
We are far stronger than we were 10 weeks ago.
General Quarters, all hands man your battle stations.
You're nervous about your toes. I'll do the mastermind around here.
You who have not seen it do not know what hell looks like from the top.
Bam! Check it out every Tuesday and Saturday on Revolution Radio. It's a double dose of the internationally recognized renegade military historian Douglas Dietrich.
You'll stay right where you are till I tell you to move out.
Yeah, that's right. Tuesdays from 10 to midnight Eastern Time. Join Douglas Dietrich as he exposes the truth in hidden history on his show Critical Omissions. And then our human weapon of mass destruction is back once again to take your calls on Saturday Night Firing Lines. Both from 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Only on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, and we are back. And I just wanted to tell a couple of things. Our guest is just away from the phone, from the computer for a second, but she'll be back. I see there's some questions here in the chat, so I will be asking her those questions before we move on to the other topic today. And speaking of topics, it's a very, very important thing to do is to donate. This is a completely listener-supported radio station, and you need to do the donations. Those are very, very important to people such as this that are running this radio show. It takes a lot. There's a lot of costs and stuff. There's a lot of things that they take up so much time of their life. You know, it's it's kind of hard when you're out there doing things, like the radio, myself. We do these things completely, from our hearts. But if you don't receive the donations, it's really hard to just keep your heart going, So do donate. You can donate to seed packs. You can buy different kinds of seed packs. And, with what's going to be coming in the future, possibly, you're going to need that. You want organic fruit. You want to eat in safe areas. So, therefore, you need those seed packs. So join in and donate to Revolution Radio and help them stay on the air. All right? Thank you. So, getting back to Mary. So, Mary, we have some questions that I wanted to ask you for you. These people in the chat room have asked. Well, now, I guess I didn't go further into the tarot. First of all, they said that the tarot came from the Black Star. Are you familiar with that at all? Oh, actually, I don't think you're on.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Actually, if they really wanted to know more about the tarots, I do have a website on all the alien races. And it's burlingtonnews.net/alien races.
Great.
And so I've got in there the tarots as well as the daros, a lot of those different races, but I can, hold on. I'll just put this in here. Make sure that I've got that right for everybody. Yep.
So it's
burlingtonnews.net/alien races. And it's all alphabetized.
Is that a .com?
No. burlingtonnews.net/alien races.
Okay.
And it, like I said, I have it all alphabetized.
Okay, super. So, some other questions. You mentioned something about Thunderbirds. I guess maybe you want to learn about that.
Hold on. Sorry about that. Yeah, but go on. Sorry.
You mentioned something about the Thunderbirds. Other than, you actually turned into a Thunderbird.
Yeah.
What is Thunderbird about? What is the meaning for Thunderbird? What is it?
Well, the Thunderbird is it's a lot of people think it's a pterodactyl, but I don't think so. Not according to Native American Indian traditions. But the Thunderbird is supposed to be this. It's a very, very large bird that people see from time to time. And I do have a story that somebody had came to my cafe to tell me, and he was going, I believe, from Burlington to Milwaukee on the interstate there. So it had been outside of Milwaukee on the interstate. And he was driving, and this huge Thunderbird came flying. It swooped down right in front of his car. Mm-hmm. And then kind of dipped up and then flew, down up in the sky, down the roadways, and then kind of disappeared. It flew up higher so he couldn't see it. And he said the crazy part about it is it was so big and he could see it so perfect, and it was just like he pulled off the road because he was in so much shock over it. Mm-hmm. And his family saw it as well. But he says it was like he watched everybody else's, their vehicles, and nobody hit their brake lights or anything. It was like he was the only one that saw it. And I'm thinking, after I heard that story, it seems to me that maybe these Thunderbirds, they're kind of like, how they talk about the Bigfoot being able to go in and out of these dimensions. Mm-hmm. And or maybe he was pulled into their dimension and he was able to see it, or something happened where, maybe his frequency matched the frequency of the Thunderbird, because it would not be normal for nobody have hit those brakes.
Sure.
I mean, the way he described it. So some sort of paranormal event happened, or I don't like saying paranormal, some sort of unexplained event happened. But I truly believe the man saw what he saw. And I talked to, when, I was working more on UFOs, I had a associate that I talked to a lot. His name was Dr. Bruce Cornett. And he worked on that, Pine Bush, UFO sightings. And he was a professor, I believe, either at the New Mexico University or Arizona University. Anyhow, he was able to use all that equipment, to study all the so-called UFO sightings that they were having up there. And he told me that he had noticed that they'd set up like 2 cameras. One camera would get the UFO. The other camera sitting right next to it wouldn't. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. He didn't even know how to explain it.
Right.
But he said that he's noticed that the camera will do that, but so will other people. They'll be able to see. One person can see something, and the rest of the people all around them won't see it at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's my story on Thunderbirds.
Okay. Yeah, I've been in my. I bring out groups from CSETI, and we vector in the ships, and some people will not see them. And interestingly enough, a lot of times the UFOs won't show up if there's somebody who's like a real non-believer or doubting Thomas. Until they leave, the ships don't show up. When they leave, it's like, there they are. So it's definitely something to different.
CSETI and Burlington I actually have a website up where I took the phenomena of CSETI and put my pictures up of the woods, and they're almost exact.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've got to get together, my dear. Now I've got a couple more questions here.
Sure.
About the gnome. They want to know how tall an average gnome is.
I got a headshot of a gnome. Okay, no, that was a troll. I think I got there was no, that was a troll too. I'm trying. I can't really tell them. I'm not sure.
I mean,
I suspect that the gnomes are about 3 foot, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Okay. And black dwarfs? What about them? Do you know those?
They would be under that alien race, burlingtonnews.net /alien races.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Let me see.
We did take, speaking about trolls, though, I had a small group that was with me one day out into the woods, and I heard the rustling of brush, like something maybe about 3 foot, maybe something small was going through the brush. And anyhow, but we didn't see what it was. But then about 20 foot further down, there's a little bridge that goes over this creek. And we found little footprints. They look like little human footprints about 1 inch long. And I actually photographed them, So I don't think that, so we believe that was a troll. So from that point on, we always called that troll the troll bridge. But we also was able to see where he had come out of the mud, along the water and pulled himself up onto the the bridge. And then ran, scooted across the bridge, went up a little bit further, and then we heard him running through the brush.
So then trolls are about the same size, 3 feet though?
I think trolls and fairies alike, they can make themselves whatever size they want.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I think. I know fairies can, and I kind of suspect that maybe trolls can do the same, but I'm not sure. That's just a guess.
Okay. All right. I think that's, let me see if I have any more questions here. I don't know why somebody asked this. Are you not
somebody
feed a troll?
We feed them M&Ms.
Oh, okay. So then.
Oh, the trolls. I'm thinking fairies again. I'm sorry. No, I've just only been feeding the fairies.
Oh, the fairies. Okay. All right.
But I mean, if the trolls want to eat them, that's perfectly okay with me. But usually we just leave them down at the fairy kingdom.
Okay, I'm just reading through here to make sure there's any note before we go into the red giants. If there was any more things or questions, how about you? Is there anything else more you want to talk about on this subject and Burlington Forest?
Well, it's just to help everybody to understand that these places and entities really do exist. They exist in their own frequency, their own vibrational worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just as real as our world is.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a matter of vibration as to how they can come in and out. And I think that as time goes by, more and more people are understanding vibration and frequency, and they're opening up their minds to these possibilities, that there's more out there than what meets our eye. And I think that the time, and with the veil thinning and everything, that there's more and more people seeing all this. And I think as time goes by, seeing fairies and that will be common. You know, it used to be a common thing, you know, even in the Bible, it talks about how the angels walk with man. And, you know, and then there was that, and then they were separated, you know, and so, but I think that as people grow, you know, they mature and, you know, and take this more seriously, I think that they'll start experiencing all these creatures or humanoids.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's very important because we are coexisting, whether we're coexisting on this planet or interdimensionally on this planet, we're all coexisting together.
Yeah.
So we need to learn to live together.
I think it's our own vanity that has separated us from,
yes.
Because trees communicate, you know, plants do, rocks do. We think, you know, that because of our intelligence that, you know, that we are the only ones that communicate.
Right.
No, everything is communicating. It's just that because of us thinking how intelligent we are, we've managed to separate ourselves or cut ties with that communication. And I think that more and more people now are understanding that trees communicate, rocks communicate, and they're starting to tune more into that. And I do. I listen to the trees, I listen to the rocks, you know, and I get so much information from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's the reason I see the UFOs and the trolls and the fairies and the Bigfoot, and that is because I do have the mind of a child, you know. I do open it up to all the possibilities, and I believe first, you know, and you know, and it's like people, you know, they can tell me something and I'll believe it until I find out that they're lying to me, and then after that I don't believe them anymore.
Right.
But, you know, with nature, I mean, they've always, you know, well, you know, since I got on my path, they've always shared information with me. And then usually what I do is, you know, because you have to discern as well, is I usually, you know, they'll give me a message on something, and then I'll go and I'll Google it and find out if it, you know, if there's any information out there on it. And sure enough, there'll be, you know, usually the messages I get are confirmed, so I have no reason not to believe in them.
Wonderful. That is great. Well, I certainly am looking forward to getting to Wisconsin and coming on one of your outings. So is this a specific outing that you offer and everything? Can you tell us that before we move on?
Well, people can go to burlingtonnews.net /haunted tours. And there, I have all my different tours. And so with a lot of information on astral traveling, how to find portals and what vortexes are. Just about everything you need to know, you can, on the metaphysical world, and what we're experiencing in the woods, they can find there.
Great.
Everything's burlingtonnews.net. But the really easy way to do this, Miesha, is they just go to burlingtonnews.net, and I have my own search engine.
Ah, okay.
And all they have to do is type in whatever they're looking for. And I've got, close to 1,000 pages out there, so they're going to get their answers on just about anything.
I was looking through it and reading and everything. I thought that it was a very fascinating website. Wow. I thought, whoa, and the pictures. Oh, it's great. People, you really need to check it out for sure. Oh, thank you, Mary. Now, we're going to go switch gears, and we're going to talk about red-headed giants. So go from the beginning on how you found out about this, where this research comes from.
Well, the red-haired giants, I believe, actually comes from the line of Cain.
Okay.
And to understand a lot in the Bible as well as these ancient texts is to learn anagrams. Everything around us is based on, like our roads, the numbers of our roads, the architecture in our buildings and everything, all has a story to tell as long as you understand the hidden code within. And the hidden code within a lot of times is an anagram. And that's where Solomon's wisdom comes in, is the fact that he was able to create all these anagrams, these secret messages, within the print. And in an anagram for Cain is Dan. You switch the C to a D, and you have Dan or Den or Din or, and you'll find that through my studies of the line of Cain, they were red-haired. And these giants and the red-haired people were more of a hybrid race. That takes you into the Anunnaki gods of Enlil and Enki. But anyhow, they like Noah, when they say that he was without sin, it meant that his blood hadn't been corrupted, that he was still a hybrid.
That he's still a hybrid. Oh,
yeah, okay. And he was a giant, and that's in my book, Red-Haired Giants. And so, where my work is different than others is I just pretty much trace the lineage of the red-haired giants through the line of Cain. And there is it just irks me when I read all these the internet sites and books and that, and they'll always give credit to man being in every other country except North America. You'll never see North America. Yeah. The best that you'll ever get is the Americas, but never do they want to put that word, that North in front of it. But if you ever watch these documentaries, it says everything came across the Bering Strait. The animals, the people, everything. But, people aren't using common sense when they're listening to that and accepting it. Because if you just visualize a world map, or just Canada, North America, Mexico, Central, South America.
Right.
And then, okay, visualizing that. Now, we know that they had people in Canada. We know that there was people, in Alaska. They've given credit of people being in Mexico and Central America and South America. Why would North America be empty?
Yeah, really, because they got to get through there somehow. Doesn't anybody stop and decide to live there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and you got the Mississippi River going all the way through from the Gulf all the way up into, the northern part of North America. So there was there was a invisible border, where hunters or, travelers, they just get to that invisible border and wouldn't go in. So, I mean, but, you hear a lot of people, they hear something so many times, their brain just accepts it. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a fact. Mm-hmm. But it's not possible that we did not have a population of animals as well as people living here, because we have found dinosaur tracks, along the in Texas with giant footprints next to them, like they were tracking the dinosaur. We have the same thing going on in upper Arizona. Mm-hmm. And so we know we can date just by physical evidence dinosaurs or giants, humanoid giants, mm-hmm. with the dinosaur here in North America. And we know that and what was I going to say? There was another thing. Oh, in Pangea. See, they tried to convince everyone that life started in Africa. Mm-hmm. But they're not they're not going far enough into that, because during the days of Pangea, I have an animated map on my site. It's burlingtonnews.net/maps. It's either map or maps. I can't remember which. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, you can take this animation of the world, the plates, and you can pull them together, and it shows one large landmass. There's no empty spots there. Uh-huh. And so it shows there that during the days of Pangea, Africa and Egypt toenailed the eastern coast of North America. So that means, and then the plates started separating through all these years, and now these countries on these plates are where they are today. But originally they were all pushed together. So like New Jersey was, I think New Jersey, I don't have my notes in front of me, so bear with me. But I think New Jersey toenailed Morocco. And New York toenailed Egypt. And even in the Montauk, New York, they have found pyramids, the same, mm-hmm. just like they did in Egypt. Mm-hmm. And the only place other than Egypt that they used the word pharaoh was in New York, as far as instead of saying king or whatever, it was pharaoh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and here in this area, the Indians speak of the red-haired giant. When they came to this land, they talked about coming across, this land as in Burlington area, Wisconsin area. They came across a people that had lived here for a very long time, that were Caucasian. Mm-hmm. Well, they were white-raced, red-haired giants. And the population was as thick as the leaves on the trees. Mm-hmm. And they called them Hokadesh.
Spell that?
Hokadesh.
With an H.
Well, you can go H-U or H-O.
Okay.
And then Kadesh, K-A-D-E-S-H. Mm-hmm. But Kadesh is a Brahmin term. for meaning holy, holy ones, holy land. It even takes it back to the Ark of the Covenant. The first Ark of the Covenant, not the one that Moses had, but the first Ark of the Covenant that the sky people gave to the Atlanteans, as a covenant, that they would always be protected. But anyhow, so the Kadesh is a Brahmin term, and you can take it back to the Battle of Kadesh with what was his? I'm thinking it was Akhenaten the second. Or no, Ramses the second, I think it was. Yeah, Ramses the second versus the Hittites. There's the Battle of Kadesh.
Okay.
Well, now how would these primitive Native American Indians have access to that term if these people wasn't here? If they were making something up, why would they have been able to even come up with that term? And the river that goes through Burlington used to be called Pushtanka. And Pushtanka is another Brahmin term for rice. And they still make rice cakes in India, and they call them Pushtanka. And the Mahabharata, which I use, I get a lot of my information from in my Red-Haired Giant book, talks about North America and of the Rama and Krishna coming to North America, and they were dignitaries that would come to but see, they didn't call it North America; they called it Pushkara. See, everybody's looking for ancient America when they do Googles and they're reading their books. Right. But what they need to do is go back into the ancient names, And in the ancient Brahmin name was for North America Pushkara. It was also called Atala. Mm-hmm. And that's where you get the Atalan that remember I talked about in my book about how I spent 5 years looking for these structures underneath the water of Rock Lake and Atsalon. Okay. And so, but anyhow, so here you've got, so the dignitaries would come to Pushkara or Atala and to seek their help in the Great Atlantean War. And the Native Americans even say that North America was the home of the Atlanteans. Mm. But you see, everybody, they say, well, we found Atlantis in the Bimines. We found Atlantis in Greece. We found Atlantis here, and we found it there. Never say North America. Right. But what they're not taking into account is that the water level rose. Uh-huh. So the land, because Atlantis was, they were the Minoans, the Phoenicians. This was the Battle of Troy. And it was a 10-year war. And, but it was, the Atlanteans were, they were giants, but they were also, world traders. Okay. So they had ports, just like we do today. They had ports all over the world that showed who they were. Mm-hmm. And so when people so you have to look at it and say, okay, well then, so yeah, they found something in the Bimines, they found something in Greece, okay, but where was the homeland? Mm-hmm. Here's your ports, here's your cities, but where was the homeland? The homeland, according, and I did my book, Red-Haired Giants, just like I was taking a case to court. Uh-huh. And to prove what I was saying. And it shows that the Atlantis was right here in North America. And then when the first migration, they migrated out from North America. Mm-hmm. And then second migration, they migrated back to North America. I have, and when they migrated from North America, they went They went, how did that work? They went west and went into India.
Mm-hmm.
And then and they called them the gods of wisdom because they were supposed to reestablish, civilization. And so they went, and then they went east and landed in, they went up into east, then up into Ireland and Europe and into, and also Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And the Egyptian history talks about a god of wisdom by the name of Thoth, which most of us are familiar with,
Right.
that came across the sea from the western land to give them their civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's only one sea there, and there's only one western land across that sea, and that's North America.
Mm-hmm.
And I found an old map, and it's in my book, again, Red-Haired Giants, and it shows that the map shows North America with a cobra coming out of its center.
Oh.
And that is because the Mahabharata explains North America as the land of the serpent, or the land of the Nagas.
Oh, the Nagas, yes.
And said that they were great magicians and were had the ability to shapeshift.
Mm-hmm.
So so that's what I did. Is, like I said, I went, instead of getting modern day assumptions as to how things worked and who these red-haired giants were, in that what I did is I focus on lost books or out of print books,
Mm-hmm.
or in ancient books such as the Vedics, and in the history of Ireland, and even in the history of Ireland with the red-haired giants, they say with the Tute Dunan, they said that they came to Ireland in a mist.
Oh, really?
So you see, they came to Ireland. They wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
They came to, and where would they came from? They would have come from, according to the ancient texts, they came from North America, and they went east on that. And with the two migrations, the eastern migration would have been the one that landed in Ireland, and that is at the same point of time as you hear the story that dates to the Trojan War.
Oh, okay.
So my dates work.
Fighting?
Pardon?
Who was the Atlanteans war with?
The Atlanteans, what they wanted to do was create a one world government. So they wanted all of it.
Uh-huh.
And the ones that held them off were the Greeks.
The Greeks. Okay.
And that's where your story of the Trojan War comes in.
Okay.
And then, now they also talk about, if you go into the, especially the Mahabharata, it tells about them using Vimanas.
Uh-huh.
They were UFOs,
Uh-huh.
flying machines.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would have been able, if they had these flying machines, which I'm sure they did, they had the ability of flight to get to North America or wherever, and they talk about, in the Mahabharata, they talk about celestial cities. And the celestial cities are motherships that had the ability to cloak themselves, and so that's what we need to do, is like what I did with my book, is go in, forget about the books that are just kind of putting their own spin on material from the 19th century, 20th century. You need to go listen to the old folklores, the Native American legends, get into, other types of books like the Vedics, these people, these red-haired giants, were the precursors to the Mayan and the Aztec as well, and I show evidence of that in my book, Red-Haired Giants. Like I said, I wrote my book like I would have prepared a court case. So no assumptions, you know. It was and then also I have in my book those this geologist and maybe I got his name here. I think it's Asagy or something like that, but hopefully I can just find it here. But anyhow, this the geologist of the in the 1800s, they spoke. Let's see, hold on. They spoke of the oldest land in the world was dated, and it was right here in North America. It was from Canada down through into the Appalachian Mountains, and they says that broke water as dry land when Europe and all the rest of the world was still underwater.
Oh, okay.
Well, if that's the case, and this was a geologist report that I found, and if that's the case, and there was this great deluge, and everything was underwater except for this strip of land in North America, it would only make sense that the first animals and the first people again would have been found right here. This is where they would have had to recreate civilization.
Oh, yeah.
And then as the water kept receding, then they would continue to go to those places and rebuild the civilizations.
Very interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at your map here. That is a really interesting point. And so how tall were the red-headed giants? And they were called redheaded. So
they were red. They had red hair. Red hair and double rows of teeth. Okay. And here's a common sense point again, okay, when it comes to these giants. Let's just go with the Christian belief. When God created the animals, He created man to be the keeper of them, you know, right? So here you have that in the Bible. But now, if the earth was created and you had all these dinosaurs at gigantic proportions,
right?
You had ferns. All vegetation was gigantic proportions.
Okay.
Insects, birds, everything was gigantic.
Okay.
Why the heck would He made man 5'5"?
Good point.
Yeah. And of course, like I said, we found the human footprints here in North America walking with dinosaur prints, you know, and they were giants. And they were giants. And according to the Indian legends, they had red hair here in North America.
Site?
Well, that's where if you go into my website, burlingtonnews.net/red-haired mummies, you'll find what I did is I went into all these virtual museums to find mummies with red hair. You know, and all the pharaohs, you know, like Akhenaten and you know, and let's see, well, I can't think of any of them right now, but you know, of that dynasty all had they all had red hair, you know. And so red hair was a superior race at that time, and blonde. But of course, like I said, I haven't went into the blonde-haired giants yet. Right now, I'm just trying to focus most of my attention on the red hair. And the red-haired giants, and which became the mound builders that we all know of, they had a certain gene type called the haplogroup X, which is different than what you find today. And the most that they find today of that haplogroup X is found right here in North America, especially up in the Wisconsin area, in the copper culture area. And that's, gene, working with genes and DNA. You also find it in Ireland. But of course, you would, because wherever they went, they would have had to have left their gene. But you can actually trace it. It comes from North America and then goes out. So, and, there's a lot. There's if this was taken to court I would win my case. And but of course, again, if you notice, all archaeological excavations, none of them are focusing on North America. It's like a taboo. Right. You get grants if you go to Egypt or Africa or someplace or Europe, right. But you don't get grants if you're here in North America. There's no major digs here in North America. And now it's gotten to the point, like in Florida, it's gotten to the point, from what I've heard, that just collecting arrowheads has become illegal.
Oh, really?
It's okay, and it's funny. It's the strange part about it. It's not funny, but it's strange. The strange part about it is we're not allowed to go in and dig for artifacts, to try to piece our history together. Right. That's unlawful. Right. But a construction outfit can come in and tear the whole thing up and build a shopping mall on it. That's perfectly okay.
Right.
So what's that tell you? That means that there's something here, that they do not want discovered. And I think what it is that this is the homeland. And the original people were giants. And I mean, they probably started out as giants, and just like the dinosaur, they shrunk. They got smaller. So at one point in time, you're looking at giants of 60 foot, 80 foot tall. And then during the Copper Age, you're finding them anywhere between 8 foot and 12 foot. Oh. But now with the recessive gene, we're starting to see giants coming back. Oh, yeah. Because around the world, you'll find people, 8 foot, 10 foot tall. I mean, your basketball players are 7 foot, So, I mean, the height is coming back. The pendulum's starting to swing another way. You have other people, through recessive gene that's born with double rows of teeth, or 6 fingers and 6 toes. It's got to come from someplace.
Sure. Yeah, they've been hiding our real history, the real true history for so long. That would explain why they don't allow digging here in America. That makes perfect sense. I never thought about it. There's a great picture here of this giant skull found in Minnesota.
Yeah. And we've also found the skulls in Wisconsin.
I see one here, a couple of them here.
Yeah, and see, you notice that I have 2 pictures of skulls up, and I had them in my book as well. But they're giants, but they're different. One is elongated. See, one is kind of a rounded head with a real heavy, thick jaw.
Right.
And then the other one is more like your Akhenaten dynasty. Yeah. With the elongated skull. And then with my next book, we have found a picture of a digging in Atsalon. No, it's here in Wisconsin. It wasn't Atsalon, no. But it's got another strange shaped head that I've never seen before. And I've tried to find out more about this, but so far I haven't been lucky, or successful. But so we've got various kinds of giants that roam the earth, and you'll hear a lot of derogatory remarks about the cannibal or the giants being cannibals. Yeah. But at that same period of time, the humans were cannibals too.
Oh, really?
The Indians, yeah. Winnebago means cannibal.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what about David and Goliath?
Well, there again, there's what your giant. And see, the order was given to, in Deuteronomy, it talks about God giving the order to, oh, I forgot. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I just went brain dead. But God gave the order to eliminate, to wipe off the face of the earth of all the giants.
Really?
Yeah. And
That was
their animals weren't, they wasn't even to leave a trace of their animals behind. And so Joshua, okay, as commander, he went and he annihilated or tried to wipe off the face of the earth everything in, in Egypt, went down into Africa, did the same thing, went up into Europe, and eventually the last battle was in New York in the Hill of Cumorah. And the discovery of that battle produced the gold plates that started the Mormon religion.
Really?
And the Smithsonian, or the science of archaeology.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because it showed the burial plates, and the burial plates told about the giants, who they were, what their traditions were, their names, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow, that's so fascinating. But then if Goliath was the giant,
yeah,
who was this little shrimp, David? Who were they? This group of...
well, that would be your Adamic race. That was the race that God had created.
Okay.
And
so that would be the Abel line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Cain was a hybrid with red hair.
Okay. Oh.
And possibly Seth. You hear about Seth, the line of Seth. But you see, there was that. Now it brings you into, I think, your first question that somebody had asked in your chat room about Nibiru and the Anunnaki. And they were here. They were giants. It talks about that in Genesis, that the sons of God came upon the women of earth, found them beautiful, and through their their happier moments produced giants. And so, but through Zechariah Sitchin's work, with the Sumerian history, it talks about the gene splicing, the cloning, and them producing another line of man. In the Garden of Eve, or in the Garden of Eden. But the Garden of Eden was that wasn't just one spot. We actually have in my book, Lost in Time, I talk about a Garden of Eden that was actually discovered in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So they were breeding facilities. And they had them all over the world. They were breeding facilities and educational facilities. And so they would, they were creating a new race of man. And of course, the giants, there was just no room for them. They ate too much, too destructive, whatever. And whatever story they made up about them, but it was given to God gave the orders to Joshua to exterminate them all. So which was one of your first genocides.
Oh my. So would they be the ones that they used in the mining and the building, like the Anunnaki?
Yeah. Well, they produced some to be slaves, and then they produced hybrids in order to, you've heard of the shepherds, the shepherd king. Well, that's to tend the flocks.
Okay.
The people were looked at as cattle, that they created, slaves and toys, playthings, maybe even to eat. And anyhow, they created these hybrids, and those hybrids, their jobs were to they would get the orders from the gods, and then from the gods they would take the orders and and carry them out with the people, and so they were think about it. What is a shepherd? It's a person that tends a flock.
And God refers to his people as the flock. So there you go.
Right. Yeah.
We've got just about 6 minutes or so to go. So I'd want to make sure that you get the chance to tell them about your books, where they can find them. And then maybe if you have a message for people before we go off the air.
Okay, sure. If you want your books signed, you can go to burlingtonnews.net/books. You can also find them on Amazon.com. And they're great books.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody loves them. So, and I like sharing I like sharing it with everybody out there. So, if you go to burlingtonnews.net/books, you can get a list of all the books I do have out there. And I guess what I would like to give as far as my words of wisdom, take it for whatever it is, to think. I was one of those kids that used to drive my teachers crazy because they would say something and I go, why? And then they'd say, why? And I go, why? You can't just take the first, just because the first answer may be a truth doesn't mean that there's not another truth under that and under that and under that. You have to dig. You have to find the truth for yourself. You just can't rely on everybody else to find that truth for you, because by doing so you give up your power. And that is the worst possible thing you can do, because then you do become the flock. You need to be the black sheep. You need the ones that stand out there, and go, bah, and that's self-empowerment. You don't go to other people and say, well, what do you think? You can to a certain extent because, that's sharing a conversation. But, you have to learn how to think for yourself. Find your own truths, think for yourself. Through that, and believe in yourself. You don't, it's like, no offense to all you psychics out there, because I'm a psychic myself, but everybody's a psychic.
Right.
And if you have a dream, you don't need to go to other people and say, what do you think that meant? Or, something's happening in your life. Well, go to a psychic. Well, what do you think, what do you think it means? All your answers are within yourself. You need to go within and ask those questions. And when the answer comes to you, you have to believe in that answer. Don't question it, because nobody knows you like you know you. And your body, but by learning your body and how your body reacts to the positive and negative, your body will show you what is truth and how to avoid dangers in life.
Yes, it will.
So I guess that would be what I'd want to end it with.
Well, I think that's a very good, I've always felt that too. The time for gurus and other people giving your answers are over. We have all of our answers within us, and I agree 100%. And this has just been so interesting. So what's your next book you're going to write? Are you going to do some more on the giants? Or are you going to get into a whole different thing? What do you think?
It's kind of, I've got all the information. It's just kind of pulling it together now and seeing how it falls into place. But it's a continuation of the giants, but it's going to be more with the Anunnaki involvement.
Oh, great. Great. Well, folks, keep in touch with me at starseed.org. I'll put up in this video sometime.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another extra big-ass fries?
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat masses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we